Alright guys, so let's start by talking about our materials that we're going to be using today. First and foremost, we're going to be using the Cameo 4. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on by pressing the power button and then opening it up. You'll see that the Cameo 4 comes with the auto blade, but today we're actually going to be using the Silhouette rotary blade. This is a specialty tool that you can purchase at an additional cost from silhouetteamerica.com to use with your Cameo, and it's super awesome. It's perfect for cutting felt and fabric specifically, like any other rotary blade, and we'll take a closer look at it in a second. And then we're also going to be using a strong tack mat. So when you get your Silhouette machine, it will come with a blue mat, which is normal stickiness, but this is a bit stickier, and it holds your fabric in place while the little rotary blade glides on top of everything. We're also going to be using some felt for today's project. I'm using 2 sheets of felt, and then we're going to be using some assorted ribbons that I just had in my crafting space, and then we're also going to be using some fabric glue. So this is everything that we're going to be using today. At this point, we can go ahead and get started in the software. So I just opened Silhouette Studio. You guys will notice that I am in the business edition, which is our most advanced and most incredible cutting machine software out there on the market. There are so many tools over here in this toolbar and as well on this side that you can use, and we have so many classes that go over how to use these tools, but this is just a one-time payment upgrade, and you will get all of these tools for forever when you're using your Silhouette machine. So it might look a little bit different than yours if you're using the basic version, but as long as you upgrade to the business edition, you'll have all of these tool options as well. So you'll see that I'm using the Cameo 4, and I'm actually going to be using the default settings for our setup in Silhouette Studio today, so I don't need to change anything over here in our page setup, but if you're using the Cameo Plus or the Cameo Pro, you would want to adjust your settings over here as well. But at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So today I said we were making a name banner, and we're going to be using a free design from the Silhouette Design Store to do that. So I'm going to begin by coming up here to the Store tab in the upper right hand corner and clicking Store. And the Silhouette Design Store has over 300,000 designs for you to pick from, so I promise you there is easily something that you're looking for. As long as you want to just type something in the search bar, you'll be able to find anything you would like. So we're going to come up here to the free section, and this banner design is free with machines that are purchased from this point on, but anybody can download it at this point. So I'm just going to click this piece right here that has these 4 different banner pieces, and then I'm going to click the cart to add it to my cart, and then I'm going to click that little blue arrow. And even though it is free, you still have to go through the checkout process so that it will add it to your library. So after you click checkout, you're just going to go ahead and type your password again, and it will default add to your library at this point. So it says, thanks for your order, and we're going to go ahead and go back to Silhouette Studio now. Perfect. So at this point, I'm going to go to my library, which is another tab up in the upper right-hand corner. And then I have so many designs, as you guys can see, but I'm just going to come up here to the search bar up here and begin typing banner. Oh, here it is, right here. Jungle Party. So to open a design in Silhouette Studio, you're just going to double click that design from your library. And then it will open up, and I'm going to use this little magnifying glass to zoom out a little bit. And I'm not going to be using all of these pieces today. I'm just going to be using this little U-shaped piece, or actually I think I'm going to use this one, the pointed piece. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and click the pieces that I don't want. So I'm going to select this piece, and then I'm just going to click the delete key on my keyboard and repeat that for the rest of the pieces. And then for this project, I actually am not going to be stringing the banner through these little holes either. If you were doing paper, you would be able to string it through those holes, but I'm going to be doing felt. So I'm just going to be using fabric glue today. So I'm just going to right click this piece, and then I'm going to click release compound path. And it will just fill in those little holes, and we can actually just click them and delete them. And then this is the piece that we're going to be using for our actual project today. And I'm going to be using a 12 by 12 piece of felt, and then I'm also going to be using I'm going to be using 2 12 by 12 pieces of felt, one for the banner pieces and one for the name pieces. the letters. And so I'm going to go ahead and copy this 4 times. Right now my banner piece is 5.199 inches tall and 3.8 inches wide, and I actually think that's pretty decent, good default size for a banner. So I'm not going to change the size at all, and I'm just going to hold down my Option key or my Alt key depending on what brand of computer you're using, and then I'm just going to pull another piece out. This is the easiest way to duplicate, I think, in Silhouette Studio. And we are actually just going to then spread out our pieces. One thing with the rotary blade is you do want to give it a little bit of room so it can move and make its adjustments and cuts. So you don't want your pieces super, super close together. So I think this is a good amount of distance for these pieces. And I would also like to change these to the color that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to have these be kind of a peachy orange color. So I'm going to close the page setup panel, and then I'm going to open the fill panel, which is this little artist palette. So I'm going to select my 4 pieces, and then I'm just going to select a pink color. And now we're going to go ahead and add our letters. So I'm going to use my text tool over here, and I'm going to click that tool and then click in my art space and begin typing. And I'm going to be using the name Nora today. And for me personally, I like to do all capital letters when I'm doing a banner so that I don't lose as many pieces and they're all kind of the same height. I just prefer that, but you can stylistically choose whatever you would like. And I like to also change my font. So to change my font, I'm going to select all of the letters that I'm using, and then I'm going to go to this drop-down menu right here and pick a font that's a little bit bolder. Yeah, we'll just use Arial Black right here, perfect. And then I'm also going to make these orange. I'm using like a peachy orange for my letters, so just to make them that color so I know what color we're using. And I'm going to obviously make these bigger because right now that would look really, really small on my banner. So I'm going to just use these little handlebars on the side when I have my text selected to scale it up. And at this point, we are going to drag our name to the side, and all of these letters are going to fit great. They are 4.567 inches tall, so that's a good size letter. And then I'm actually going to ungroup this name by just clicking on it and then right-clicking and then selecting ungroup. So this will make it so all my letters are individually separated, and I can just double check to make sure that all of these fit in my space. Lastly, I'd love to do a little tip with the business edition that I can show you. I'm just going to use a shape. It's called Flexi Shapes, and in the basic edition you're given 4 Flexi Shapes, but the Flexi Shapes in the business edition have over 30 different designs. So you can see all of these fun little designs, and I am actually just going to take this little flower design right here. It's like a scalloped circle, and I'm going to just kind of draw out. You can also change the number of the size of the petals, and you can also change the number of the petals as well. And I just want this to be a super simple little flower, so I'm going to make mine 5 petals, which is the smallest that you can make it. And I think that is actually a decent curve also. The rotary blade, it can cut curves, but you don't want to make it cut anything too sharp. So I think this is a nice little flower, and I'm actually going to make it just a smidge smaller. And we're just going to add it to like 2 of the corners of the banner. So I'm just going to take one, and then I'm going to hold down my Option key and grab another one. And we are actually, I have a couple more pieces of felt, and we can cut these in a lighter pink fabric. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to cutting. I'm going to stop this screen share so that I can show you how I'm setting up my mat first. Let's set up our mat now. As you can see, I have inserted my rotary blade into the second carriage. It has a number 2 on it, and that's how you know that it goes in the second carriage. And now I'm just going to take off my mat cover off my strong tack mat, and you're going to want to save this because this mat is very sticky, so if you don't cover it when you're done using it, it will get fibers and just different craft supplies on it, and it won't be as sticky for as long. So I went ahead and I cut down my 2 pieces of felt to 12 by 12, and now I'm going to put it on my mat. And it is really, really sticky, so a trick that I like to use is I like to fold it in half and then line up the top and smooth that out, and then I like to fold down the second half. And that just helps me be able to get a nice even layer of felt instead of getting bubbles that the blade could get caught on, and it just makes it so it lays down really, really nicely. So now to load this into the machine, we're just going to click this arrow right here until it starts blinking, the upward arrow, and then we're going to use this sensor, the machine will use this sensor to read the material there, and it will load automatically, so we can load with both hands. So I'm going to go ahead and line this edge of the mat up with this gray line right here. And it pulls it in very, very nice and neat. At this point, we're going to go to the send panel, which is the upper right hand option in Silhouette Studio. And by default, it will show up like this, and it will have a red line around everything. But our red line is actually our cutting for tool 1, which is the auto blade right now, and we're not using the auto blade. So I'm just simply going to click one item and then hold down my shift key and select the other items, and then click no cut. And it will not cut those items with the auto blade, and we can actually close carriage 1 right here. And then I'm going to open carriage 2, and then I still have those items selected, and I'm just going to select rotary cut. And now, since everything is showing up with a blue border around it, we are going to have a rotary cut on that instead of a auto cut. As you can see right here, it says no carriage 2 compatible rotary cut action was found for this material. And the reason that it's saying this is because we currently have cardstock selected as our material. So we just need to open the drop down menu and then begin typing felt. And I'm using acrylic felt today. And you can see that these little tiny loops will open up and show on the project, and these are those little adjustments that I was telling you about. So this is why you don't want your pieces to be too close together, because you don't want those loops to overlap at all. Like right here we have this little loop overlapping with this little arch, and we don't want that to happen. The blade can get stuck if it does that. So just make sure that your little pieces aren't too close to the edge and that none of your loops are super, super close. And you can move them around and click them to kind of test it out as you go as well. Okay, and at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and come down here. I'm not going to change any of my settings, and I'm just going to click send. The machine just finished cutting, so I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that each piece cut all the way through just by pulling up a little piece. And you'll see that the strong tack mat is very, very sticky, which is a key point of cutting felt with your machine. Perfect, and then the last one. Beautiful. And so now to unload it, I'm just going to press this little downward arrow. And then I'm going to pull off my excess felt, which you can save and use for other projects if you'd like. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn my mat over and peel my mat away from these felt pieces. And when you are using the rotary blade and the strong tack mat with felt specifically, it does leave some fibers on the mat, but I have still used my mats a lot. So don't worry about it necessarily. And then we're just going to put our little banner pieces right here on the side and smooth them out a little bit. You can iron them if they don't look super crisp, but as long as you push them down, they're usually fine. Now I'm going to load my orange onto the mat the same way, so I fold it in half, and as you can see, it's very, very sticky. Okay, and then I'm going to load it the same way. Back in the computer, I'm going to go back to the Design tab in Silhouette Studio, and I'm going to draw a rectangle over my 4 pieces to move them to the side. And now we're going to be cutting our letters. So I'm going to go ahead and bring these onto my mat. And with letters especially, you want to give them plenty of room to cut. So now let's go to the Send panel so we can see the rotary blade movements of it. So we need to turn off carriage 1, so I'm going to select all of those and then select no cut for carriage 1 and then select rotary cut. And as you can see, these letters are going to do a lot of different turns. So I'm just going to move closer together just so that I'm not using as much material, but I still want to give it plenty of room. And this will save me a lot of material over here too. So now I'm just going to click Send again. Let's go ahead and make sure that all of our letters cut all the way through. Just peel up the side a little bit, like we did for our banner pieces. With the O, obviously there's not a corner, so it's a little bit trickier with the sticky mat. But it looks like they cut great, so let's unload it and pull away our excess. Then I'm going to pull our letters off, and I'm actually going to use the Silhouette spatula tool, just since the letters are a little bit thinner and more fragile than the actual banner piece. I just like to use this to help them come off a little bit better. And you can purchase the tool on our website as well. There's a couple different accessories you can use for different kinds of projects. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and use this scraper tool, or sorry, spatula tool to remove these excess pieces. And then, alright, now we're just going to cut those little flowers that we made. So I'm going to load this pink color on. I'm going to fold it in half again. And the strong tack mat can be used for all kinds of materials. I like to use it for felt because I really like making felt projects. But if anything that needs a little bit stronger hold, the strong tack mat is the perfect option. So if you're cutting leather or just any type of thicker, heavier material, this is the perfect tool for you to purchase. I'm going to go ahead and load this. And then we're going to add our flowers in Silhouette Studio one last time for one more cut. So let's go back to the Design tab and then move our letters over to the side. And then we're just going to drag these little flowers onto our mat. And then let's also go to the Send tab again, and we need to turn off carriage 1. So we're going to select both of those like we did previously, and select no cut. And then we're going to select rotary cut. And as you can see, these flowers have a lot of turns, so I'm just going to really separate them out so that the blade has all of the room to make all the turns it needs. And then I'm just going to press send. Yeah, I think I'm going to need to iron these. I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and check it. These ones are really close to the edge, so I'm just going to take a tool and lift it up a tiny bit. Perfect. Beautiful. And you could always cut out some little circle centers for these flowers too if you want. That would be super fun. And you could cut out even more flowers also. So now that we're done cutting, I'm going to be sure to put my mat cover on my mat. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and lay out all of our pieces first to see our pieces, and then we're going to use fabric glue to assemble it. So I'm just going to lay out my letters on top. Oh, this is going to be so cute. And then we're just gonna, I just cut out 2 little flowers, so I was thinking I'd put one on the N right here and maybe one on the R, like that. Maybe I actually want to put it behind. Just kind of move them around until you find something that you like. I think I like that better. Perfect. So now I'm just going to take some fabric glue. I just got this at the craft store, and I'm going to open it up. Oh, and it always bulges when you open it, explodes. Okay, and then I'm just going to put my fabric glue on the side of my letter first and glue as I go along. And fabric glue is very, very sticky, and I did buy the quick dry kind as well, so it should dry rather quickly. And like I said, I like to glue as I go, so I just do it little by little. And it is very stringy and sticky usually, so. Okay, so there's all of our name pieces. Now I'm just going to add these little flowers by putting some glue on one side. And I'm not going to actually glue the flowers all the way around. I'm just going to put it in the center so they can kind of protrude and just flow by themselves. Then I'm going to repeat that with my other one. Alright, so then I'm going to put my lid on my fabric glue for a few minutes while we prepare our ribbon that we're using. So when I make banners, I like to use at least 3 different kinds of ribbon, and whether that's the texture of ribbon or the colors or the thickness that you're using, I just think that adds so much character to your project, and it makes it really interesting and just beautiful. So I have 3 different ribbons that I'm using here today. And some of them are new, but some of them are just ones that I had laying around also. And I think just different ribbons are the perfect way to add some fun design and texture to your project. So I'm going to use the scissors to cut my ribbon. And I'm actually going to cut it extra long because we're going to be knotting this as we go assembling it. So I'm going to cut it about this long because we can always cut it down after as well. And then I'm going to make this the same size, cut my other two the same size. Oh, that's the whole thing. That is not very much ribbon. Good thing it's like exactly the same size as this one. Oh, and then we have our little flowers. And then I'm going to periodically knot these as we go, just so that it's not just, one continuous strand, but it kind of like bubbles as well. So I'm just going to kind of pick a few spaces where I think about I would put my my glue. All right, so now that we have tied our knots in our ribbon, now we just need to trim this side to match that side, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just kind of trim it down so it's similar. I like to not necessarily make them the exact same length. And now we're going to take our fabric glue again and glue these knots onto our front pieces. So I'm just going to add some glue into the corner. And glue my knot into place, and then add some glue in the next corner. And as you can see, like, it doesn't necessarily go exactly to the corner, and that's okay. So I'm just going to add my glue to my ribbon actually, and then press that down, and then we're just going to repeat that with the rest of the ribbon. But I hope that you guys found this project relatively easy and that you're super excited to make a fun name banner or just use your rotary tool in general to make something super fun with fabric or felt or crepe paper. Those are just a few things you can do with it. Beautiful. So I am not going to pick this up right now because I'm going to let it dry. You'll want to let your fabric glue dry completely before you hang this on anything. But this is our final project, and I think it turned out so cute. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you make something with your rotary blade, make sure to tag silhouette.ink so that we can see your awesome projects. Thanks.